Electromechanicals, you have solid-state machines. Here's some examples of two early solid-state machines here. This is a Bali and a Gottlieb. Bali, I think this is a Bali 35 or 16 or something. And then this is a Gottlieb System 1. The next generation of games after the full electromechanical, the first are the early solid-state ones. These are called classic games. They're noted by the score displays like that, the digital score displays, as opposed to, say, this game, which has analog reels to keep track of the score. See, there's another example. So that's the main difference where you can spot the electromechanical games have these old reels, and the new games have the digital reels. And let's see if we can put this on. And the new games take a little bit to come up, and then poof, they come up. When you're looking at these games, you just want to make sure everything works, all the displays, etc. Now, what do you look for in these games? Well, let's talk generally, okay? Because what's really important with the value of games is the condition. You want to look at the play field. Is the play field in good condition? You'll see wear spots. You see there right above the 30,000 thing. You see how there's a wear from the ball. Any place where you've got artwork on the playfield that has been scraped away to expose the wood, that's bad. The more that, the worse condition the game is in. Depending upon the game, that can be a deal breaker right there, because if you have a game that has very intricate artwork and this wears over intricate artwork, it's really hard to fix. Contrast with, say, a game like this, see how much simpler the artwork is? If there's a wear spot in the purple or a solid red area, see, like right there, see how it's kind of starting to flake up? You can just color match that red and kind of push it in, and that can be repaired. But you got wear on something like this with a big hole, there's no way you're going to be able to really touch that up and make it look right. It's always going to be crappy. So wear on the playfield is a big deal breaker. You want to look all over the playfield. The most common spots where you're going to find playfield wear are around holes and things that kick the ball out, and around pop bumpers and around slingshots here. So you look up near these pop bumpers and you look for wear spots around the pop bumpers. You look, see where there's a kick-out hole. You look to see if there's any wear, and here's an example. I don't know if you can see that. There's a touch-up, there's a scrape right there that's been touched up. Another wear area is when you have inserts in the playfield and they start to shrink and become concave, and then the ball bounces when it hits them. And you see how there's wear uneven around certain edges of these 2x and the 3x and the 4x. Again, that affects gameplay. It also affects the value. And some of the stuff, depending upon the background around it, is easy or difficult. So generally speaking, wear is bad, especially on the playfield. So if you find a nice game that's got really bad wear on the playfield, that significantly affects its value. Okay, so there's a good little intro into what to look for. Solid-state games, the more modern the game is, generally the more valuable it's going to be, but there's always exceptions. Again, look at the back glass. Here's an example where we've got pieces of the back glass missing. But you see a back glass like that, it looks beautiful. But you really don't know until you look on the inside. Unless it's backlit, you cannot tell how many flakes and holes there are in it. See, there's actually a pretty big flake right there. You can't see it very easily, but when it's backlit, it's very obvious. And sometimes what people will do is they'll remove a bulb behind a damaged area of the back glass, so you really can't see it unless you replace that bulb. So keep in mind, let me show you a difference. There's a brand new repro back glass for a game called Jumping Jack. Really nice. That's a perfect back glass. Now let's go over here and let me show you the back glass that one replaced, which kind of looks pretty nice, right? Doesn't look too bad, but let's backlight it and you'll see what I'm talking about. This is mounted into a little frame. This has actually been repaired. Somebody painted all in this. But look up here where the clown is, and you can see all of the stuff coming undone, and speckled and everything. And you see down here, you see these things. So this is not the worst, but pay attention for that kind of stuff. This might not even be obvious unless it was backlit. You wouldn't see how bad that clown was messed up. So now, let's say you get a game. How do you transport it? Okay, well, games usually fall into two categories. They can either have the head folded down or not. The more modern the game is, the more often the head can be folded down. The earlier games, these heads do not fold down. If you look here, say Theater of Magic, you see the hinge right here? There's two bolts on the inside. You can undo them, and then very carefully this whole thing will fold down and lay against here. There's hinges over there. You look at something like Target Pool here, that's not going to happen. The head has to be removed and transported separately. You never want to transport a game with the head up on it. Let me show you how you get the head off. These older electromechanical games have these things called Jones plugs in the back, these things, see? So you can literally just grab this plug and pull it out. Just work it out a little bit, and it'll come right out. And see, there's your plug. And anywhere from 2 to 4 of these, depending upon the game. And once you unplug those, then you've got these bolts right here. You just unscrew these bolts. These are 9/16 bolts, and you hold on to the head while you unscrew it. Then once you do that, you take these plugs and drop them into the cabinet, lift it off. Then you've separated the head from the game. Pretty easy to move. On more modern games, like Twilight Zone, you get into the cabinet from the front here, up here, unscrew that, and then this lifts up and pulls out, and then you have a little door in there that you open, and that's how you get to the bolts in there. Once you undo the bolts, you don't have to unplug the head. You just put like a pillow or something down here, and then you lower the thing down and fold it, and then you move the whole thing all at once. Let me show you what to look for inside the head of some of these modern games. So here I go wandering around. All right, these are some early solid-state machines here. These are all Gottlieb System 80s. Here's a Jacks to Open. This is a Haunted House, and there's a Mars God of War. I've removed the back glass on the Haunted House, and you'll see it opens. It just slides open like that. Usually you see the little latch right here. You lift it up, and then you pull it. It kind of swings open. And we get a look at the components. Now, it doesn't matter whether we're talking about early solid-state or the more modern ones. They're always going to have a collection of boards like this inside of the game. The first thing you want to look for is the MPU board. It's usually going to be in the middle or up in the upper left. And you see that big white thing? That's a battery. That's bad. When you see these batteries on these boards, they're the most common cause of problems. So if you see a game and you see battery on it like that, you want to immediately take a good look and see if it started to leak electrolyte or acid onto the motherboard, because that will leak onto the board and it will damage all the components around it and basically make the game unplayable. What happens when that happens? When you turn it on, it lights up, but nothing happens. But that still doesn't mean the game will work at all. It just means the general illumination lights up. It doesn't mean that the brains of the game, the main system board, will even run. So when somebody says the game lights up, it just needs a little work and it'll, turn on, that could be major, major work, especially if you've got a battery on the board. So when you see a game and you see a battery and it looks like it's leaking, assume that board is toast. That could be anywhere from $200 to $400 to replace, not to mention all the time it would cost to redo the connectors, because what happens is when the battery leaks, it also gets into the connectors and ruins the connectors. And here's an example of what probably the connectors were messed up on this board before, and somebody took it and wired in another connector. Now look at this mess. So the old connector was probably got corroded, and they wired in some other connector. That is something that I'm going to have to go over wire by wire to make sure that it's right, and trying to get this game going. So not fun, time consuming, but if it's a good fun game, it may be worth restoring. Again, if it looks like everything is on the play field, there doesn't seem to be any major problems. If rubber is broken, you know, it needs new rubbers, that's not a problem at all. But what you want to look for is plastics missing, you know, parts missing from the game. Look, top to the bumper caps. That's not good. There's pieces missing. Look in the machine. Are they there? Look at the back glass. Is it complete? Does it look like it's supposed to? That kind of stuff. Look at the playfield. How is it? Very minimal wear. That's always good. The more wear on the playfield, the worse the situation is. So there you have it. This is just a little short monologue about what to look for when you're picking up a game, how to transport it, how to tell if it's complete, etc. I hope this was helpful. It's by all means not complete. So, you know, just a starting point, a little intro. Hope it helps. If you have any more questions or anything, contact me, Mike at PinballHelp.com, or visit the website, PinballHelp.com. Good luck hunting.